Listening to problem solving.
I saw Maggie last week. She was telling me that Kate and her fiancé aren't getting along that well. They've been arguing a lot lately.
Yeah, that's what you were saying. I've heard that he's sort of a difficult person.
Yeah, he is. But apparently he bought Kate a very expensive engagement ring. An enormous diamond. Or so Maggie was saying.
And evidently he drives a very expensive car.
Right. But there's got to be something wrong, you know, if they're arguing all the time. And that's what Maggie was saying, too.
So I wonder what'll happen.
Me too.
Question 1.
What are the speakers concerned about?
Question 2.
What type of person is the fiancé?
Question 3.
What problems is the speaker's friend and her fiancé facing? Now listen to part 2.
Maggie was at his house once, and she was saying how nice it was. But as she said, money isn't everything.
That's true. As long as I can pay my rent, buy food, and have a bit left over for entertainment, that's all I need. You know, it doesn't sound like his money is making them very happy.
No, and evidently, it's hard on Kate. Maggie was telling me how embarrassed Kate feels when he spends a lot of money.
They must have really different lifestyles, too.
Exactly.
Question 4.
How does the man feel about money?
Question 5.
How does the speaker's friend feel when her fiancé spends money? Now listen to part 3.
Kate once told me she'd be happy living in a little house in the country. But apparently, her fiancé wants to buy a huge luxury apartment in the city.
Well, they say that money is the #1 thing that couples fight about.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
By the way, I heard that Maggie had broken up with her boyfriend. Is that true? Weren't they going to get married?
Oh, yeah. That happened last week. She told me all about it.
Did they fight about money too?
No, he didn't like her family, and she couldn't stand his friends. Money was the only thing they didn't fight about.
Question 6.
What would satisfy the speaker's friend?
Question 7.
How do the speaker's friend and her fiancé differ?
Question 8.
Why did the speaker's friend and her boyfriend break up?
Claire, could you check the other closet? There aren't any hangers in this one.
Sure. Just a minute. Here you go. They must have put them all in here. I've got a ton of them. Are these enough?
Yeah, that's great. What's this? Oh no, can you believe it? There are 3 ironing boards in this closet. No wonder there wasn't any room for hangers. You know what? Let's order room service.
But room service is so expensive.
I know, but it's our anniversary. Let's make this like a second honeymoon. Hello, room service? I'd like to order dinner. I'm in room 306. For 2 people. Excuse me? How long did you say? Claire, he says it'll be 45 minutes to an hour. Can you hold out?
Well, actually, I'm not that hungry. It's only 5 o'clock. It isn't any problem for me. What about you?
I'm okay. That'll give us a little time to finish unpacking. Why don't I just order for both of us? Room service? That'll be okay. We're not in a hurry. We'll start with 2 jumbo shrimp cocktails. Then we'll have 1 broiled chicken with a salad and 1 steak, medium. Do you have any fresh vegetables? Good. I'll have some broccoli with that steak. Dressing. Just a minute. Claire, any dressing with your salad?
Yes, Italian, please.
That'll be Italian dressing on the salad. Thanks.
Sounds great.
Question 1.
Where is this conversation taking place?
Question 2.
Why is the woman unsure about ordering room service?
Question 3.
What does the man suggest they celebrate?
Question 4.
What do they agree to do about room service?
Question 5.
What will most likely happen next?
Listening for information.
Lori, how are you? Every time I pass your house, I notice how many birds there are, flying about, chirping away, and so many different kinds. How do you do it?
Easy. I build birdhouses. I have a bird bath in the yard, and I put out lots of food for them.
You mean you put seed in a bird feeder? I've seen bags of bird seed at grocery stores and hardware stores. Perhaps I should buy a bag.
Keep in mind that different kinds of seeds attract different kinds of birds. Sunflower seeds attract the greatest variety. Goldfinches like thistle seed, but we don't have goldfinches here. Not only that, I actually make my own suet cakes.
What? Oh, you mean those blocks of seed that you put in a metal cage for birds to pick at? How do you make those?
I can give you the recipe, but basically I melt a big chunk of suet, that's just animal fat, in a pan, and I add some peanut butter, and then about a cup of cornmeal to thicken it.
Next, you add the seeds?
Yes, and not just seeds. I also put in some fruit, and since I don't want the squirrels to eat it, I put in some red chili powder.
I had no idea that squirrels don't like chili. I'm surprised the birds aren't put off by it.
Me too. Then I pat the mixture into a container to shape it and put it in the fridge overnight to set. In the morning, I pop it out and put it into the wire cage you mentioned.
That sounds pretty simple. Yes, I'd love to have the recipe.
I also make my own hummingbird nectar. It's even easier. I just boil 1 cup water with 1/4 cup sugar, or 2 cups water and half a cup sugar.
Really? Ordinary white sugar? But aren't they always telling us how bad sugar is for us?
Yes, for us, but it's okay for hummingbirds. And ants, unfortunately. You shouldn't put red food coloring in the sugar water, though. That's bad for them. It's better to buy a red hummingbird feeder.
Question 1.
What is the conversation mainly about?
Question 2.
What kind of seed does the woman probably buy?
Question 3.
Why does the woman put red chili powder in her suet cakes?
Question 4.
Why does she put the suet mixture in the fridge?
Question 5.
What does the man think about her use of white sugar?
Question 6.
What will the man most likely do after talking to the woman?
Listening to a news item.
Doctors in Canada have called for a ban on the use of perfumes and aftershaves in hospitals and clinics. They say the chemicals in the scents can trigger asthma and allergies. Research shows that over half of asthma attacks are caused by irritants, such as powerful smells. Besides perfumes and aftershaves, these can include cigarette smoke, cleaning fluids, and other strong fragrances and odors. Dr. Ken Flegel and Dr. James Martin of McGill University in Canada wrote about the dangers of smells in hospitals in the Canadian Medical Association Journal. They said, hospital environments free from artificial scents should become a uniform policy, promoting the safety of patients, staff, and visitors alike. Strong smells affect many of us in one way or another. Around a third of people say they are physically affected by artificial scents worn by others. The doctors noted that this should be a serious concern in all hospitals. They wrote, while artificial scents are designed to make us more attractive, they may result in unintended harm to those who are vulnerable. There is emerging evidence that asthma, in some cases, is primarily aggravated by artificial scents. They added that, this is particularly concerning in hospitals, where vulnerable patients with asthma or upper airway or skin sensitivities are concentrated. They warn that scents in hospitals can make these patients' conditions worse.
Listening to a news item.
Let me tell you about a case study that's often used as an example of how a win-win situation can be negotiated by both parties. Tony was a computer software designer who had come up with a great idea for a computer game. But his problem was that he couldn't afford to quit his job while he worked on the game because he had to make a living for his family. He thought it would probably take him about a year to actually complete the programming for the game if he worked in his spare time. Okay. Well, he put together a proposal and took it to a multinational company that had launched several successful computer games. But the problem was that the company made him a very low offer, just $1,000 a month for 12 months. And although that would have paid his bills during the time that he would have been working on the program, he knew that the game had a huge potential for return on the company's investment. So he felt like he would be taking all the risk without having the opportunity to share in the reward. But when the company refused to give him any additional upfront money, then instead of getting angry, Tony went back with a counteroffer. He agreed to accept the $12,000 as an advance on the profits that he expected the game to generate. And he suggested that they share the future revenues in a ratio of 40 to 60, 40% for Tony and 60% for the company. The company was interested, but explained to Tony that they would be investing over $1 million in order to produce and market the game, and would need a larger share in order to proceed. So they agreed on a 30-70 split. And as it happened, the game was a big success. The company made a huge profit, and Tony was able to quit his regular job and start his own game design company. So, everybody won. They were both able to minimize their risk and increase their profits.
Listening to a discussion.
Well, that was a good session, eh? All 24 members present, 8 conversation groups of 3, a full house. How'd it go for you, Diane?
Our group spoke French for more than half the time. 40 minutes of French and 20 minutes of English. But, hey, I'm not complaining. I need all the French I can get.
Hey, your French is just as good as mine. Keep practicing. A few more weeks and you'll sound like Nicholas here.
And remember, it's even harder for the allophones here. I mean, they're learning a third language.
Allophones?
They're people whose first language isn't English or French. Like Marta, she's an allophone. She grew up speaking Ukrainian, then she learned English, and now she's trying to pick up French.
Marta was in my group. She's amazing. Her French is way better than mine. She said her friend wants to join.
Well, that makes 6 new members who want to join, and they're all allophones. Problem is, we can't ask people to start bringing their own chairs. Maybe we need to look at a bigger restaurant.
I think we should just limit the membership to 24. Can't we start a wait list? There's enough turnover. Colleen and Liam are going back to Germany next week.
The thing is, if you put prospective members on a wait list, they might just join a different club. I know from working at the community center, wait lists are unreliable. You can have 6 people on a wait list. But when you call them, none of them are interested anymore. So, when people ask to join, we should let them in right away. How about meeting at a separate location on different nights?
Well, if all the new members are allophones, maybe we should change the format. Right now, each conversation group has 1 native English speaker, 1 native French speaker, and 1 allophone. But maybe in the new location, it should just be for allophones.
No, we need to mix them in with native speakers, like we're doing now. The allophones kind of inspire the others by their example, and they're great translators. For the next little while, we'll just have some groups with 3 and some groups with 4 until we get more native speakers in. We'll need to find a second location for a meetup on alternate nights. Some people can meet on Tuesdays and Saturdays. The new group could meet Wednesdays and Sundays.
Listening to a daily life conversation.
Oh, it's a hot one today, isn't it?
Yes, it is very hot. Our apartment doesn't have air conditioning, so I really look forward to being here in the park in the middle of the day.
Same here, and for the same reason. It's nice that these benches are in the shade and still close enough to the playground equipment. Minji doesn't look very happy today. Is your daughter ill?
No, Minji's fine. She wanted to go to the swimming pool, but I said no. It's just too long a bus ride on a hot day like today.
I know what you mean. You know, I was thinking before you came that they should have some sprinklers or fountains here for the kids to play in. There's an open space right over there that's not being used.
They say we'll be having more hot spells like this.
It could be a lot of fun. There could be water shooting out of different spouts, some stationary and some spinning around. We could call it a sprinkler playground. It should be free, of course.
Of course. And you know, letting kids run through sprinklers would probably be a lot more hygienic than letting them swim in a communal pool. I confess I worry about what Minji might catch when she goes swimming at the pool. Ear infections, eye infections.
You might be right. The water would continuously wash away. The kids could still wear their bathing suits, but also sneakers or special water shoes.
I suspect a sprinkler playground would use less water than a swimming pool. Did you know that they're talking about rationing the water again this summer, at least for watering lawns?
Yes, I heard that. Perhaps I should send my suggestion to the City Parks and Recreation Department.
I think you should. On a day like today, even I'd use it, just as I am. Question 1. What is the main topic of discussion? Question 2. What is true of the man's apartment? Question 3. Why does the man ask if Minji is sick? Question 4. Why is the woman reluctant to take Minji to swimming pools? Question 5. What does the woman think of the man's suggestion?
Listening to viewpoints.
10 tips for a great job application. Why is knowing how to fill out a job application properly so important? For many job seekers, the job application is their letter of introduction. A neatly done, complete application will catch the eye and the interest of a potential new employer, while a messy, incomplete one is much more likely to end up in the trash. Here are 10 tips for completing a job application successfully. 1. Be prepared. Collect important documents like your student ID, driver's license, social security number, and resume, and put these things in a folder for easy access. Also include contact information for your previous employers, your rate of pay, and references. 2. Follow instructions. Take time to read the entire application before you fill it out. Figure out what information is required in each section. Completing the application correctly is the first test of your ability to follow directions. 3. Type accurately. The application is a reflection of you, so be sure to go over it for typos and careless grammar mistakes. 4. Target the job. Answer questions with the particular job in mind. Be specific. Include experience and education that matches the requirements of the job that you are applying for. 5. Answer all questions. Fill out the application completely. Don't leave anything blank. If a question doesn't apply to your situation, write NA or not applicable. This will show the employer you are careful. 6. Be honest. Be truthful in the application. Information here will become part of your employment history, and if you lie, someone is sure to find out. You could lose your job. However, do not offer more information than you are asked to give. 7. Don't be negative. Your goal is to get an interview, so play up your strengths and say only positive things about yourself. 8. Salary required. Don't type in a number for salary questions. Instead, write open. This shows a positive attitude toward discussions about your pay. 9. Gaps in employment. It is okay to have gaps in your work history. Entering information like returned to school, moved, or volunteered are all acceptable reasons for gaps. 10. Proofread. Reread your application several times before sending it. Following these guidelines will make it more likely that a potential employer will read your application from beginning to end. A well-done application doesn't guarantee you will get a job, but it certainly increases your chances.